definitely do something that you're passionate about, that you see a need for. And because those pressing problems that are the hot topics, there's going to be hundreds and thousands of other people doing those. So either you need to be completely innovative and different in your approach, which is possible. But if you don't care about that topic, it's very likely that you're not going to want to be innovative with it.
What's up? It's your girl Melissa with Stop Playing in Life, and our guest today is Mandie Kramer, an instructional designer. Thanks for being here, Mandie.
Thanks for having me, Melissa. It's great to be here.
So, Mandie, tell us a little bit about yourself and what is an instructional designer?
That's a great question. So, well, I have an educational background. I've been a teacher for over 12 years now. I've taught a variety of different things, never the same thing twice. And I've also taught in other countries like Japan and Sweden, but I'm based in the US, and that's where most of my life has been. And I actually got my instructional design and technology degree in 2015. And so an instructional designer is somebody who basically designs or helps innovate educational programs. And I went into the branch of organizations instead of education because you can go either way. And I thought I'd like to get an out of teaching if I ever wanted to. So I thought I would train and learn about instructional design in organizations. So to give some context or some examples, whenever you get hired into a new company, you go through a training program, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you ever want to create an online course, you need to create the curriculum and set everything up for that. If you want to think about user experience or the user design of your online product or course, that's what instructional designers do. And it's kind of like a huge variety. So I work on all different kinds of fun projects. It just depends on what the product is and what the overall message is for the company. So yeah, I've just kind of started consulting and I just registered my LLC. So I'm super excited to make things official. And yeah, so I'm calling my little consulting company Instructional Design Innovated. So ID Innovated. So super pumped.
So this is obviously how you got started in coaching online.
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually had the past 4 years, a lot of online experience teaching my students, but also creating online programs and modifying, making things better with online learning. So it's just kind of been all around me. So I can finally apply all of these skills that I've acquired over the times and apply it to some new things. So it's great.
You said that you help people validate, test, and innovate their online courses. In what ways could someone start to do this?
Yeah. So I'd like to think of everything through the design thinking process, but I'm just going to focus on the first part so I don't overwhelm the listeners. So the first thing that you want to do before if you're listening to this and thinking about creating an online course or an online program, a workshop, a webinar, any of those things, you are going to maybe want to talk to an instructional designer or just think about what an instructional designer would think about. And that is the first thing is validating. So is the idea more than what's like in your head that you feel is important? Because the worst thing that can happen is you create this amazing product that you pour your heart and soul into, and then you send it out into the world, and then there's crickets, right? Nobody's buying. I see these patterns so much with online course creators. They create something magnificent. It's their passion, but then they're like, why is nobody buying it? So there's a couple different ways that you can validate your ideas before putting all that work into it. And I would say one of the most popular things you can do is you can survey your audience if you have an audience. So we'll start with if you have an audience, you can talk to them. The first part of the design thinking process is to empathize. And to empathize means to really connect with people and put yourself in their shoes and kind of get out of your head for a minute and think about what other people are looking for, what other people need. So you can do this by engaging with your audience, pulling out surveys, sending out surveys, getting feedback, asking them what they are looking for, what struggles that they're having. If you have an audience on Facebook, you can do a Facebook group. If you have Instagram, you can ask your Instagram followers. So, first, easiest thing to do if you have an audience is just to ask. Just start there. It doesn't have to be complicated, and have them kind of spur the inspiration of where you can apply your expertise. And if you do not have an audience, one of the things that I recommend doing is to research your ideas on Google and just see if there are similar products that are already existing. And if you see that there are other people with your ideas, it's very easy to get discouraged and be like, oh, well, somebody's made that already, so I'm not going to bother. No, that's not the point. The point is that if it's a good idea, then people are buying it. People are looking for it, and they're purchasing these things that already exist. So that's actually a good sign. What you can take from that information is look to see what other people have done and then make it your own. Think about how you can innovate and you can take your spin on that idea. All right, so if you don't see your stuff, that's not like you have the most original idea out there. It's likely that you have an idea that just wasn't in demand. It's not solving a pressing need. So you can take that information and you can roll with it and think about, well, what do people really need? And you can also search, if you don't have an audience, you can also use tools like Uber Suggest or Google Trends to search keywords of your idea to see how often people are searching for it. So I did that with one of my teaching products. So I would search to see if people were looking for things that I was making for educators, and they weren't, which is why my stuff wasn't selling. So I have a unique situation where I create resources for sustainability. And it's just a bit of ahead of its time right now. I have, and maybe people can relate to this if they have a product that people aren't really drawn to right away, is having to educate your audience so that they feel the problem, they see the problem, and then you provide a solution. And that is a step that I'm actually seeing with a couple of my clients of, okay, they have this great idea and it definitely solves a problem, but it's not something they have to educate their audience so that they can say, okay, now here's the problem. And then people are like, oh yeah, that is a problem, but they're not feeling it instantly when they are on their day-to-days. So those people, if you have that kind of idea that could really help make a change in the world, but you need to educate people about it, that's okay, but you're just going to have more work to do up front in that education of your audience before you present a product that can provide a solution, because they didn't feel that pain point in the first place. Now, a few years later, with my teaching stuff, it's selling a lot better now because I've gone to teacher conferences and I presented about these topics and ideas, and I'm educating the audience, and people are like, wow, this is really neat. Like, I want to learn more, but it's an extra step that I didn't realize at first. So definitely not hopeless if you don't find your stuff. It's just that you're going to need to take that extra step to really educate people that there's a problem in the first place. But if you're solving a pressing problem first, then you're going to save yourself a lot of work in the end. I actually have, I don't know if you have a website or a blog or show notes, but if people, okay, great. I can send you my articles that I've posted on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I did the whole month of January on validating your ideas. So I have 4 or 5 articles that are just about this topic. So if your listeners want more examples, I'm happy to send that over to you.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to pose a question. If I was a new course creator, should I just build a course on a hot topic or something that I find interesting and exciting?
That's a good question. Absolutely do something that is passionate for you because it's a lot of work
Mm.
and you're going to not want to finish it, or you're not going to want to, close out the project if you're not feeling a lot of passion for it. And what I encourage everyone to do that wants to create a course is to actually create it with your audience, with your ideal user in mind, but I would actually have those people with you in some kind of beta program where you create like an outline of something that you want to teach. And then you bring in a small group of people and you just talk with them, and you do a practice lesson on the small audience, and then you get your feedback, and you can do this sample course and very bare bones, very little effort, and then you have a really solid outline that is validated because you've actually worked with other people on it and heard their feedback and their advice. And then you can dive all in. So that would be my number one suggestion, is definitely do something that you're passionate about, that you see a need for. And because those pressing problems that are the hot topics, there's going to be hundreds and thousands of other people doing those. So either you need to be completely innovative and different in your approach, which is possible. But if you don't care about that topic, it's very likely that you're not going to want to be innovative. So I hope that answers your question there.
Yeah, because I'm a quitter. Like if I don't
Mhm.
like something, I'm not gonna keep doing it. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
You
whatever next.
gotta, yep. Yep. You gotta love it. Like podcasting, right? You have to love it because it's so much work. And
Mhm.
if you don't love it, then it's just not gonna happen.
Right. Like people think it's so easy to just get on the camera and just let me just talk, but it's so much behind the scenes stuff you got to do too.
Oh my gosh, I know. The editing, the
Mhm.
adjusting of audio,
It's
conversion of audio
crazy.
files, yeah, uploading, social media. I mean, like everything.
It's
Never
crazy.
ending.
Are there any particular platforms that you find perform best for entrepreneurs to spread their message?
Oh, that's a great question and a super overwhelming one if you try to Google it. I definitely I don't have the answer because everybody has a
Mhm.
different purpose. So it depends on what your objectives are. Um, if you search for, if you want like an all-in-one program where you have memberships and courses and I don't know, webinar ability, there's all different kinds of programs that will provide that. I think Kajabi off the top of my head, and
Mm.
Dubsado might be one of, no, sorry, not Dubsado. That's the program I'm using for my business. I'm blanking on the other ones. Mighty Networks is another one that advertises having community and courses. But honestly, figure out what you want at what level of stuff you want, because you can go as simple and as free as creating a Google Classroom. Okay.
Mm.
You're like, you can invite people to create a Google Classroom. It's free. You can send out and you can do a whole class. Like, it just depends on the complexity that you're looking for. There's ways to do it for free, and then you could be paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month with a very expensive program all in one. But those you just Google and you can do the comparisons and see what ones are looking for the services that you're looking for in the price point. But there's like an infinite amount of options
Yeah.
out there. So it just depends. My advice would be, it just depends on what you're looking for and what level you're looking for. And if people are really stuck, they can reach out to me and I'd be happy to give them some guidance. So that's a
Yeah.
tough one.
There's so many e-learning platforms that it's ridiculous.
I've spent hours, and you just need to pick one, and they're all different. You just need to pick one and commit and see how it goes. You can always change later, but I'm kind of like that. I have trouble making decisions because I want to make the perfect one. So I will
Eh,
spend too much time looking. And now after some time, I just tell myself, just pick it. just pick it, Mandie, and move forward, because it's procrastination.
I was just about to say
That's what
that.
it is.
Like, you can't even get the course built because you're too busy looking for a platform.
Exactly. It's a rabbit hole you don't need to go down, because there's plenty of good platforms out there. You just need to find what you can afford, what features you're looking for, and just go with it.
Okay, so you're a science teacher.
I am. Yeah, middle school science. I teach online now, but I did most of the time in person before the past, before COVID.
Girl, how did you handle working with middle schoolers?
It's so funny. They're actually my favorite age group. I have taught infants to 18-year-olds in my life, and they are my favorite age group because I love teaching the content. I love delivering the content in a fun way. And middle school, they're like at that level where they're ready to learn and grasp, and they can really do a lot with the content. Whereas the younger you get from there, it's more like you're still teaching them how to be people and how to interact with each other. And it's like a lot of um like motherly stuff. I'm a mom, so I'm like, I don't really mind the motherly stuff, but it was just more like, I love the science. I love to teach the content. So I wanted to be in a position where I could really do that a lot. And middle school, they're still excited about learning, whereas high school, they're kind of over it. So they get the content, but they're harder to like grasp and engage and play. So middle school is kind of like that sweet medium for me. Yeah, I think it totally depends on the person. You can be a middle school teacher or an elementary or high school. It just totally depends on your personality. So that's
My
just my
sister used
personality.
to do middle school,
Hmm.
and because we look so young, the principal would be like, "Ma'am, you're not in your class," or I'm like, I
Oh,
couldn't do that. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't go through that all
constantly.
the time because I look younger than what I am, and I do not want to deal with people trying to put me in trouble. Oh, you're going to sack because you're not in class. I'm like, I'm a teacher.
That would happen to me all the time, all the time. I would, especially with schools where I just started, or actually this happened with the workplace that I'm in right now. And I've been in the district for years. I walked in and I just, had my badge, but you couldn't see it. And I just kind of walked by the front desk and excuse me, can I help you? And I'm just like, yeah, sorry, I work here.
I'm a teacher.
They just thought I was, a student just trying to walk in through the doors. It definitely happens. My first days of work at a new school and a new year, I try to dress like super adult. I mean, like pantsuit, like just do not look like anything like a student. That helps a lot when I can dress the part, but once I get casual, it's really hard to tell.
You're a student. You have to prove that you're not a student.
No, I know.
So since you're like sciencey, which isn't even a word, why didn't you create like a business around something sciencey instead of like course creation?
Oh my gosh. So I do. I have way too many things on my plate
Oh,
right now.
girl.
So I do have a business with my teaching science
Mm.
experience. It's an online teachers pay teachers store called STEM Tactics, and I create educational resources for sustainability, and I focus on project-based learning and the UN global goals, which I didn't mention those names before, but that was the sustainability thing that I had trouble selling
Mhm.
in the first place. And yeah, so I do a lot of, I created my own learning method for project-based learning for social impact. So I educate teachers on that and sell products go along with it. But since my life is kind of split into so many different ways at the moment, I don't make products that consistently, but I still make sales every day, and that's motivating, and it connects me with teachers around the world. And doing I'm presenting at 3 sessions for a STEM conference for educators, and I get to feature my store and my products there. So I actually do have something going on with that fills that sciencey
That's awesome though.
need. Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty
But
awesome.
but when it comes to like actually making money, though, I'm looking to use that instructional design degree to, you know, work with companies and and get paid what I'm worth, because
Mm.
teachers are undervalued, underpaid. And
Amen.
so, mhm.
Yeah, I know.
So it's trying to just play and see what can happen. And right now the instructional design projects are super fun. So I'm having a good time doing it.
So obviously you're busy with multiple avenues. Do you have a morning routine that you do like every day?
I do have a routine I can share. It extends from the evening before to the morning.
Okay.
So the morning or the evening before the day, I write down all the tasks that I want to do the next day. And I pick three nasty, I call them frogs. I don't call them frogs,
Mm.
actually. There's a productivity book called Eat the Frog.
Mm.
And I've taken some strategies from that. Also, I can link to my podcast episode about this so they can listen to that if they want with more detail. But the Eat the Frog is basically you take whatever nasty task, big thing that you need to get done, and you put that first in the day.
Mm.
So eating the frog is like, you don't really want to eat a frog, but it's just that nasty thing that you need to do, but it's actually usually the most rewarding slash most action you can take in that day. So I pick three big things that I want to do first thing in the day. So then at the end of the day, I feel like I've been productive, and it's not a day where I just go, 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 and I just feel busy. But I feel like I used to think, I just was busy all day, but I got nothing done. Have you ever felt that way before?
Always. Like, what did I
Yeah.
even do today?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're nonstop, but then at the end of the day, it's like, oh my gosh, like the house is a mess, whatever. So this strategy that I've started has really helped me feel like accomplished in the day. And so the night before I plan those big things I want to get done, I do them first thing in the morning. And then I also make a list of everything that else, all the little things that need to get done, and I check them off as the day goes on. So it's really important that you write these things down and that you check them off, because it's also going to keep you organized, keep you focused, and also feel good when you're making those little check marks. So again, yeah, I have a episode on my show that I can link with you if you'd like, that goes way more into depth about all the resources and strategies and theories behind it. But that's my routine.
I didn't know you had a podcast. Tell us about it.
No, see, way too many projects. The podcast is not related to teaching or instructional design. It
Oh,
is actually for mothers who love the outdoors and who feel like they've kind of lost a part of themselves after having kids, because it's just hard to travel with kids. It's hard to be who you used to be after you have
mhm.
a child. So I have, she is now 19 months now, daughter. And so I've kind of new in this whole motherhood journey, and I just found it healthy to podcast about it and to interview inspirational women about their journeys of traveling while having kids. And season 2 is actually themed around self-care and
Yeah.
yeah, woman empowerment. So that's been really great to have these really awesome women on the show. And we talk a little bit less about traveling, but more about mental health and physical health and organizing, time management. And then the season 1 is a lot about traveling, what to do when you want to fly with a baby, uh, camping with kids, and sleep schedules and all this other stuff. So if you're into travel or you miss it or you want to get sparked with some more inspiration, that podcast is called the Wander Mom Diaries. So like wandering around.
Yeah. It sounds
Yep.
interesting. I have a 5-year-old and I travel a lot, so I
Check
know
it out.
exactly what you mean. I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think for now, that's like everything going on in my life.
Yeah,
Way too much, but it's good. It's good. I'm kind of that person that just needs something stimulating my brain all the time.
I'm that way
But
too. Like, I'm always learning something. Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
do you have any resources you'd like to share with the audience?
In regards to,
Like course creation.
okay, uh, resources for course creation. So I would say, hmm, I'm trying to think right now. I don't have a website made yet, but it's on the way. I would say the easiest thing is to connect with me on LinkedIn and follow my newsletter. It's called Instructional Design Tips. And on that newsletter, I go through every week and I give tips and advice for not just online course creators, but anyone who wants to create something digital, whether it's workshops or webinars or online product. Like I mentioned earlier, the first month this year was based on validation. So the next month, I'm focusing more on design thinking. And I think the following month, I'll do gamification. So there's all different kinds of topics that I'll talk about there. So you can check out those resources. But there's also tons of free courses about how to create a course.
Mhm.
So, I mean, the thing is with those, a lot of times they want to try and sell you more, but the thing is if you want to create something, you just need to validate it first, and then once you have that, it's not too difficult to do a structured outline and things like that if you're working with people. So try and have fun with it if you want to create an online course. But again, like people are welcome to call me, and I do 30-minute free calls that I can link to. So if you want to chat and have instructional designer kind of coach you along where you should go first and how to set everything up, I'm happy to do so. So I hope that helps.
It
For
does.
sure in the
I can't let
newsletter.
you leave though. Can't let you leave without telling me what gamification is.
Oh, yeah. So gamification is just taking an experience or taking an objective that you want your learners to know, and you create a game out of it. It can be any kind of game, from like trivia games to guessing to board games to click and drag features on a screen. It can be, video games, just any kind of game. And if you think about all different kinds of board games out there, you can imagine like it can just be anything.
Mhm.
So it's basically having a little bit more fun, a little bit more interactivity in what you're trying to teach somebody so that they are engaged and that they are applying the information and that they are able to retain it a bit more when it comes to that. So I've actually, for my, this is embarrassing to say, but I've created my own board game, and I did it all around that sustainability UN global goals stuff. So in using that with my students, it was just a whole new level of engagement around the not only the content, but just with each other, actually looking face to face. I mean, these are middle school, remember, they don't want to look anywhere besides their phones. But they're talking, they're debating, they're interacting with each other, they're trying to win. It's a competitive thing, it's exciting, it's energizing. So what I like to do is take the features of gamification and see how I can apply it to the learning experience, whether it's online or in person with workshops or classes. So that's kind of like gamification in a nutshell, just making a game out of something. You can gamify bathroom routines if you want.
That's
You can
smart
have
though.
kids. Yeah, you can have like kids love games, adults love games.
I do.
Yeah, it's just something that we need to implement more, I think, in our day-to-day lives is more games. I just did actually a fun thing. Um, my husband and I, it's winter, it's cold, it's dark, it's nasty here in Michigan. So we were kind of tired of just sitting around in the evenings, and we decided just to have like a tournament, just whatever baby toys we can find in the house, we would each take turns coming up with the challenge to do.
Oh Lord.
And so it was just like, how tall can you build the block tower in 30 seconds, or like with one
Uh-huh.
hand, or like, can you hold a little pom pom in your mouth with a spoon and make it to and from the house, like faster. So we did these stupid like Olympic games, but it was just something like to light up the day. And you can do fun things like that when it comes to learning. There's no reason that you can't. You just need to put a little extra effort into it. So
I
yeah.
love that. I've never been into like sports games, but I like video games and puzzle games and stuff like that. So that's right up my alley.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like thinking about all the apps on your phone, Duolingo, when you go to learn a language, that's all gamification. When you're earning those points and those incentives and it keeps you going, you don't want to lose your streak. It's a whole bunch of different approaches to the content. So yeah.
Yeah. Right down to like, you know what a Tamagotchi is?
Oh yeah.
My mom decided to give my daughter one of those, and we've been dying over here trying to keep it alive.
I think once I had my Tamagotchi grow up into the full thing. Only once. I mean, I had that thing for years. That was a long time ago, but yeah.
That thing dead every week. I can't. I don't even understand it. It's the hardest game I ever played in my life.
You have to put it as part of your morning routine, is to make sure morning and evening routine. Okay, make sure the Tamagotchi is fed.
Okay, thank you so much for coming out and chatting with us. Where can we link up with you?
Yeah, I am on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. You can find me and Twitter. ID Innovated. So ID Innovated is my username. And you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name's Amanda with like Mandie, Mandie. I can give you the link, but
okay.
Kramer, Kramer. So you can search for me on LinkedIn as well and connect with me there. I'd love to chat. And I can give you the link for, my contact info and the 30-minute call if anyone wants to talk about an idea that they have for a workshop or a course or something. If they're thinking about taking their expertise and making an exponential impact, I'm that person that can kind of help guide you in the right way. So feel free to reach out.
I will put all her information in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Yeah, it was fun. I feel like people found out my life story in 30 minutes. Usually I talk about like one topic, but you brought up all different kinds of topics. So hopefully they don't feel too overwhelmed, but I'm happy to share everything in the link.
Thank you for tuning in. Stop playing at life. Let's go. Hey,
you just listened to Melissa with Stop Playing at Life, because you know damn well you need to go out there and have a life.
Right now's the time. Let's go. Hey.